Thank you for the very nice and charming introduction here. Thanks so much and welcome to all of you. That's a great environment here, I would say, in Mannheim. I think it doesn't only allow us to listen to the experts here, no worries, they will come after me on stage. But it also allows probably for some exchange, good discussions around the topic of ALM. So I'm really looking forward to spending the day here today with you and of course also interacting in the next couple of days. So, great opportunity. ALM. For sure Mark will now be a little bit, probably it will be a little bit shaky, but I'm gonna try a definition of ALM now. And of course, Mark, the advantage that you are having is you come after me on stage, so feel free to correct me. So when I think of ALM, application lifecycle management, for me I have a very, I would say a simple definition. For me the definition of ALM is simply about bringing together a lot of ingredients, bits and pieces that make up a successful business and IT transformation. So think of your optimized and well-defined end-to-end processes, think of innovative business solutions, think of proven best practices, content and methodologies for implementing and running your IT systems, and I think bring that all together and then I think you have a good part and a good element of ALM. And I said, Mark, please correct me in case you have a more precise or better definition, but I think that is for me about it, right? Bringing the bits and pieces together to make a successful transformation. And I'm going to speak about some of those elements today, not everything. There will be enough speeches in the next couple of days. I am going to start with the A in ALM, with innovative business applications. And that is why I have brought here today our very high-level product vision, product strategy overview. Probably many of you would have seen some variations of this picture a couple of times. So it of course shows our cloud ERP in the middle, surrounded by our cloud LOB solutions, human capital management and spend management, business networks, customer relationship management, and of course underlying everything our business technology platform, which is the platform for some very central functions, workflow management, embedded analytics, identity management and so on, but of course also for side-by-side extensibility and extensibility by our partners. So in a nutshell, that's the 5 product categories of SAP. Very simple and I think probably very straightforward for many of you who have been dealing with SAP for quite a while now. And when you listen to our product leaders from SAP, of course, a lot of them talk these days when they pitch their product strategy, they talk about all the innovative things that we are doing with Gen AI and LLMs and so on. I'm gonna, just mention a couple of examples so that you know a little bit what is the direction we are heading to in the sense and in the context of our product strategy and product vision. And just for those of you who were wondering, by the way, how long does it take for the first SAP speaker here to mention Gen AI and LLM? I think it was 4.5 minutes. And you'll hear more about that promised. So just a couple of examples. What we do in terms of bringing innovations to those applications. Of course, on the BTP, on the business technology platform, one of the most obvious use cases for Gen AI is for sure code generation. So we have our own cloud application programming model, CAP, and we call this CAP GPT. This is what we're going to launch, code generation based on natural language processing, relatively straightforward process, and I think will be extremely valuable for many of us also working in the space of implementing and running SAP's cloud services. In the cloud ERP space, of course, this is extremely wide. So I think it is very difficult to now call out, the one or the other innovation that we are planning to do, like resource assignment for projects and so on, which is maybe something which is related a little bit to the topic we are discussing here. Embedding all our digital assistant technologies across the entire portfolio is of course a top priority in cloud ERP. So we are having across the entire cloud ERP portfolio a bunch of new innovative AI-based use cases which we are partially have already in place and which we are, of course, rolling out throughout the next couple of months and quarters. A few very nice examples we have in the area of human capital management. Think of things like automatic job description creation, which saves simply a lot of time, but also a few more sophisticated examples like what we call a talent intelligence hub, where you don't only take the CVs of people who might be qualified to take over a certain job or a certain role, but you also take other information that is available, skill information from your learning module and stuff like that, and then of course create a hub where you can seamlessly assign people in your organization to tasks and to jobs and to roles with the help of generative AI. I think these are also in the area of HCM, human capital management, some of the use cases we are working on. Of course, also in the area of spend management and business networks, we have a couple of things. I'm thinking one of the, I think, more compelling use cases is, of course, in the area of catalog management, descriptions of products, but also automated category generation, and of course also analyzing processes and optimizing your spend processes, optimizing not only your internal processes, but also the way how you collaborate with your suppliers. So there are a couple of innovations that we are thinking of in that space. And this does not only take into account data and information and applications from within the procurement applications. And this is, I think, something which is common to many of the use cases we are working on. It also takes into account a lot of information which is outside this specific application, but which is part of your application landscape overall. So this is one of the characteristics, of those new use cases that we are thinking of, that all of those applications become, at the end of the day, networked applications. This is why this addition to the spend management category that we have here, business network, is so important for us at SAP, because our target is certainly to make all of our applications networked applications as well. In customer experience or customer relationship management, we also have a couple of really cool examples, I must say. I've seen a demo just recently, which is very nice, which takes pictures that you are taking in Commerce Cloud of the products that you want to sell. Then you give the target group, you say, well, this is for kids. This is a product for kids, and then the picture is automatically fine-tuned in a way that it's more compelling for that target group, right? It creates automatically a product description which you can then adjust rather than starting from the scratch, and with a click of a button, you publish that to your web store. So those are innovations in the area of customer relationship management. Of course, there's also a lot happening with, of course, the massive amount of data that we have along our CRM category, customer data and the like, which we are working on. So quite a few important and interesting use cases. So that is about innovation. That is about innovation, and as said, one of the baselines for me for successful business and IT transformation is, to have good, innovative business applications, first of all. Secondly, it is not only about innovation, it is also very much about user experience, about exposing those innovations to your end users. This is another very important ingredient for me to run a successful transformation program. You have to always think of the end users and how do they consume those applications. And as one highlight, I would want to mention an innovation that we have launched a couple of weeks ago, which is called Joule. And some of you may have heard about it. You will hear much more about it in the next couple of weeks and months. There will be a lot of announcements around Joule. And what is Joule about? It is, technically spoken, the next generation digital assistant of SAP. But I think it is much more. With Joule, end users are able to talk with natural language with the SAP applications. And it is a different way of natural language. So it's not just voice recognition and you have to say things in a way that the application really understands. It is really, you can really speak natural language. And it then connects with the business AI capabilities of our business applications in the background. So that is practically the innovation. That is the new thing. So as a sales manager, for example, you could ask, hey, what can I do next quarter to boost sales in North America? It would then retrieve, of course, all kind of sales information, probably from the CRM system, from Sales and Service Cloud, but it would also take a look at what is for your business your total addressable market, what is your market share in North America as a region. It would combine these pieces of information and would then also give you concrete tips and hints what you can do, and also, of course, connect back to some business applications that you can then start right away, where you can dig deeper on some of those ideas, maybe generate some tasks in Sales and Service Cloud for your local sales managers in North America and all those kinds of things, right? So Joule is the innovation with which we bring business AI to the end users. And this is something which is extremely important, I think, and something, as said, which is very, very central also to our future product strategy. And you will hear a lot from that in the next couple of months, for sure. Now we've touched a couple of innovations. We've touched user experience. I'm now going to briefly touch a topic which probably, if I ask around in this group, what is your number one wish to SAP in terms of our product strategy? Probably some of you would mention integration. You see the picture here, right? Our 5 product categories consist of multiple cloud services, of course, that are connected, partially out of the box, partially we are working on those scenarios. So our target is, of course, what we have done for more than 50 years, to deliver end-to-end processes to our customers. And this is, of course, what we are working on. But integration is also a little bit more. Integration is also things like measuring end-to-end processes. There are some nice cloud ALM capabilities and functionalities that we have to offer here. It is also about making sure when you run and operate your cloud services, you know that you always know exactly where does my process stand. If there is an issue happening at some point in time, if there is an outage in one component, what impact does it have on other elements, on our end-to-end processes? So integration for me is much more than just the technical connection of the systems which make an end-to-end process for our customers and for the end users, but it is also managing those end-to-end processes holistically, and this is one of the core capabilities and one of the core functionalities also of application lifecycle management, and I'm sure we're going to hear much more of that in some of the sessions also throughout the next couple of days. So innovation, user experience, integration we've covered. Now comes a part which I'm personally pretty excited about, because the function which I'm heading, customer support, is one significant part of that. And this is what we call operational excellence. So this is another cross priority which we have as part of our product strategy. It is to ensure operational excellence. And of course, first and foremost, operational excellence means that the cloud services that we deploy must be stable, must be resilient, must be scalable. Performance for the end users must be good. So these are I would say, the basics of operational excellence. And of course, there are a lot of teams working on continuously improving those kinds of things. Operational excellence is also, in many aspects, the topic of what happens when there is an issue. What happens when there is a cloud outage? How does SAP inform me? How transparent are we? Also, of course, what happens, how much time would it potentially take? What is the impact for me as a customer? So all of these topics we are working on as part of operational excellence. And also our customer support function is a big part of how we want to ensure operational excellence of the cloud services that we deploy and that we provide to our customers. And that is why I would want to dig a little bit deeper into that pillar, into operational excellence, and specifically into customer support from SAP. I'm sure when I ask you about what is your experience with SAP's customer support, you will have a lot of opinions, experiences, examples to share, right? No worries, I'll be here throughout the day. You will find me, and of course the colleagues as well. But I want to take a more holistic view on explaining you what else than just ticket processing do we do in customer support, because we have a more holistic understanding of customer support, and it starts with providing guidance to our customers. Guidance in the sense of, what are proven practices, content, methodologies for implementing and running SAP's cloud services. We want to be proactive with our support. We want to be preventative also with our support. That means we want to prevent issues from happening at all. And of course, when there is an issue and when all the proactiveness doesn't help, right, then of course we also want to be fast and high quality when it comes to responding. So that whole topic of driving business continuity is of course also a very, very important part and a very important pillar and component of application lifecycle management, and bringing together those functions: customer support, cloud operations, resiliency, stability. How do we react when issues are around? This is a very, very important and critical topic. Another point which we are also hearing a lot from our customers is, hey, dear customers, please loop back all the feedback that you receive from us to the development, to the engineering organizations. It is not always only about new functional capabilities that we need and that we want. Sometimes it is also those small improvements in the user experience. This one configuration option that is maybe not working together with some other configuration option, but that we need for our business processes. So those are things that, of course, very often end up in our customer support organizations and functions, where we, of course, then also have the ambition to loop back and work together with our development and engineering colleagues, to make sure that we implement and establish those improvements. So, to take a more structured view on customer support, as mentioned, we want to help our customers transforming, we want to prevent and solve issues, and we want to work together with development. Now, taking that one step deeper here, that whole topic of transformation, this is where I'm hearing a lot from our customers: dear SAP, give us more guidance. Tell us how it works. You have that experience with all these customers. You have all that data from our cloud tenants. Tell us what is the best way, the best recommendation for me. And this is, of course, what we do, what we reflect in topics like implementation, where we provide content, proven best practices for your respective industry, for example. It is about data migration for sure as well, when you move from ECC to S/4HANA, for an example, or from some older procurement solution to our new procurement solutions. You want to know, how does that work? What is the best way for me? Should I do a greenfield implementation? Should I, rather do some selective data transfer? Should I just do a technical conversion and afterwards optimize my business processes? So what we are hearing from our customers is, you want more guidance from us. And we are here to provide this guidance. I'm not going to dig too deep into these topics, because we will hear a lot in the next couple of days here from the various colleagues around what we are doing here. I'm rather going to move on to the next topic: prevent and solve, as we call it. What we are hearing here from our customers is, first of all, please, dear SAP, prevent issues from happening. Don't wait until the issue comes up. Do whatever you can to prevent issues from happening. When an issue happens, which can always be the case, then please make sure, dear SAP, that I can easily find existing solutions as they exist. Because, of course, a lot of errors, a lot of issues that come up have happened with other customers already, and there is maybe a node available, there is a community blog available, there is a KBA available. So please, dear SAP, make sure that I find this information and that I get it at my fingertips. Ideally, I don't even want to search for that. Ideally, I want to get informed proactively about those kinds of things, so that I don't even run into that issue, right? So these are requirements that we are hearing from our customers and that we are addressing. This whole topic of knowledge management plays a very, very crucial role here. We are always telling to our support engineers at SAP that over time they have to become, and with a certain part of their capacity, they always have to be knowledge workers as well. So they don't only have to work on the customer cases, on the tickets that come in from our customers, but whenever they solve an issue, they are asked to try to think about, okay, could other customers have that same issue? If yes, we want to digitize that knowledge. We want to make it available in a digital form, in the form of a node or a KBA, or enhancing the documentation, or writing a community blog, or whatever it may be. And then, of course, it is available to all of our customers in case. And then, of course, our technologies that we have in place. Wieland is here, who is owning our service and support data lake. He grabs that information then, and he connects it with the search requests from our customers. He connects it also with the cloud tenants that we have, and informs proactively our customers with the help of built-in support and bidirectional support. So this is something which is a very, very big focus for us to improve. And then, of course, coming to the last part here under enhance. As mentioned, requests from customers, hey, you learned so much from us, feed it back to development. And what we do here actually, we have a very, very good and vital collaboration with our development and engineering teams. Our customer support function at SAP is also part of our application development board area. It's part of what we call SAP product engineering. So this is the board area that is in charge of cloud ERP and the other 3 application categories that you have seen. And this collaboration, this touch point, is for us extremely critical, because this really allows us to have very firm agreements in place with our chief product officers to focus on things like product quality, on things like supportability, as we call it, so that our support teams, our engineers, are able to trace back errors in a fast period of time. And of course, also they take into account, with a certain percentage of their capacity as well, they do take into account also improvements to usability, functionality, configuration, and so on of the software. So this collaboration between customer support and engineering is an extremely important one. And of course, there is another aspect and pillar which I have not mentioned yet, but this is something which probably many of you have first-hand experience. When you raise an issue with SAP, it happens, of course, in like 5 to 10% of cases that our support engineers can't solve an issue, and that they hand over a problem, an issue, to our development colleagues. And then, of course, this is also one part of the very important collaboration that we have in place between customer support and engineering, that we have that handshake here in place to work together on issues for our customers and provide the respective corrections for sure. So this collaboration with engineering, an extremely critical one, and one that is also for sure helping our customers having a smooth experience along their business and IT transformation journey. Now, I've promised you I'm going to speak a little bit about AI, for sure, and that is why I want to bring a couple of more examples to you to showcase you a little bit what we do also in the sense of operational excellence, to help the experience which our customers are making. And my favorite example, to be very, very honest, is here on the very, very left side under prevent issues, because that is also most important for our customers, that issues don't happen at all. And the example which I want to explain a little bit in more detail is called customer-centric observability. And it goes as follows. What we usually do, and you know that, in case some of you have for sure experience running and operating on-premise solutions, right? So that means your data center operations is monitoring the system in a specific way. They are monitoring, for example, network connections. They are monitoring if the database is still available, and all these kinds of things, if there is an issue with the operating system and so on. So they are monitoring each and every technical component. And of course, the same is what our cloud operations teams at SAP do. They monitor those different technical components. What we need to do and what we have to do to provide a better experience to our customers is we need to monitor the system from a customer and from an end user perspective. And this is what we have established with what we call customer-centric observability. Here we don't look at a database or at a network device, and if that is still running, here we really look at the experience which an end user makes in terms of, for example, performance. So if a transaction of a single end user runs in average 200 milliseconds, and all in a sudden this time starts increasing, now it's 220, 250, 300 milliseconds, then usually classical data center operations, classical cloud operations would not determine this as an issue. This is a little bit like a flat tire in your car. When you drive a car, you would not realize that the tire pressure starts decreasing a little bit. You would not realize that as a driver. But of course, when you don't realize it at all, it can easily result in a blow-up, which is a catastrophic situation. So in our IT terms, such a situation, this slightly increasing performance of a certain transaction can lead to an outage at some point in time when a log runs full or some memory is consumed and stuff like that. And that is why we need to determine those things much earlier than classical data center operations can do. And this is exactly what customer-centric observability does. So we measure all those signals from end users, and we calculate scores and health indexes and stuff like that. And then it's like an early warning system. We inform then our cloud operations colleagues, hey, there is something happening. It's not yet a blow-up, it's not yet an outage, but please look at it. It could result in one, and take the respective countermeasures. So this is something which we are in the process of establishing, which is one of the big innovations that we have under preventing issues. Of course, something which only works in the cloud for sure, but it has a massive impact. It has avoided already a lot of outages, I would say, and in average, I think we are 2 hours earlier in terms of identifying issues than with just classical data center operations. So that is an example how we use modern innovative technologies for preventing issues. Then of course also when it comes to increasing self-service capabilities, this is the point in the process where you are experiencing an issue, but you of course want to get proactive help. You want to find existing solutions, right? Here we have a couple of innovations that we have embedded into SAP for me. The new front end when you want to approach customer support since a couple of months. Like for example, we have in the background, we have a new modern knowledge management search engine which we have attached. So I think that is some stuff which we have done under the hood, which helps you finding and identifying those issues. And then of course we have things like what we call incident solution management, probably one of the oldest AI scenarios which we have in place, right? In place probably since more than 5 years or so, right? Incident solution matching practically does the following. It takes the search terms from the end users and matches it with existing documents, but it learns over time. So it learns that different users that approach us use different terminology, but still there must be a match with an existing document. My favorite example is also in the healthcare industry. You don't call a customer, you call that customer patient. And so a customer of us in the healthcare industry would search for patient, I cannot update patient data or whatsoever, right? And it would not find documents that only include the term customer, because our support engineers would use the term customer. So this is the learning that happens over time. When there is a match, our systems would learn, and then of course, the search gets more intelligent over time. And this is what we do, as said, a little bit under the hood, and which helps us increasing self-service capabilities over time. Another example we have under the right side, which you are seeing here, resolve with high speed and with high quality. Here we have just recently launched an innovation which helps a lot, but let me also phrase first of all the problem that we are addressing here. A lot of customers with whom I have spoken over the past couple of months are telling me, Stefan, first of all, it takes sometimes pretty long until we get a response, and somehow this is partially a black hole SAP support, right? Sometimes we get an initial response and support engineer just tells check those KBAs or whatsoever, but they are not fitting to our needs. So please improve the first response that we give, that SAP support gives, right? And then, of course, there are also complaints about what we call ticket ping pong. Yeah, so support engineer responds something, it doesn't absolutely fit to your problem, you write back, oh, we find out it's not an application, it's maybe a database problem, so the ticket gets routed, person asks the same questions, and so on. So this famous ticket ping pong. This is also something which I'm hearing quite a lot from customers, and which I of course also see when I browse through some of the tickets that come in. And the innovation that we have launched just recently, and which will hopefully really improve the situation, is what we call intelligent swarming. This is a tool which is not available to you, to our customers or to partners, but you will experience the benefits from that. It is a tool that we use internally at SAP and which helps us processing issues in a collaborative way. So what we practically do when a support engineer realizes, oh, I'm an application support engineer in procurement, I maybe need a database expert, a HANA Cloud expert to analyze this issue. Then rather than forwarding the customer case to a HANA Cloud expert, the support engineer can decide to create a swarm. In this swarm, we have intelligent mechanisms with the help of AI to identify those experts who are most likely capable of helping here. So then those experts get invited to the swarm, the colleagues collaborate jointly in a collaboration room on that issue, and hopefully after resolving it and after identifying the issue, we can get a very solid response to the customer faster, with higher quality, faster turnaround, less iterations also with the customer. So this is what we call intelligent swarming. Another example how we use modern AI technologies in order to improve the experience for our customers. I could go on and go on with those kinds of examples. We have currently roughly 40 AI scenarios active, live, and in place, which help our support engineers serving our customers in a better way. We are also thinking, of course, of embedding more Gen AI, LLM related use cases. For example, what I've mentioned earlier, when our support engineers create a knowledge base article, what they usually would do is they extract information from one or several customer cases, and then they would create a knowledge base article with an issue description and with a solution approach and also the validity of that KBA, right? And this is a process which can be partially automated. So we are working on something like an automatic KBA creation. Or also understanding and evaluating the complexity of a customer case is an, I would say, interesting example, because usually when a customer case comes in, it is extremely crucial for our people to get a feeling in the first minutes when you read this, is this a simple thing? Just maybe a how-to question because a configuration option was not found by the person who submitted the ticket? Or is this a very complex thing? And then it gets routed to the right processor, to more experienced colleagues, or one of those swarms which I've just mentioned gets automatically recommended then also to the support engineer. So also those are more intelligent technologies that we are working in the process of implementing. So there's quite a lot going on in the sense of AI, also in the area of operational excellence and customer support. And when I bring that together into, I would say, a holistic picture of how such a business and IT transformation can be successful, and this should also serve a little bit as an anchor point for some of the presentations throughout the rest of the day and throughout the rest of the week. For us at SAP, we are extremely excited about the opportunity which the intended acquisition of LeanIX brings to the table for us. With LeanIX, we are able to manage architecture and capabilities in a holistic way. Not only SAP, by the way, we've discussed this earlier. It's not only SAP applications that we have in the focus here. With SAP Signavio, this is about managing and optimizing your end-to-end processes. And then we have Cloud ALM, Application Lifecycle Management, that brings it all together and practically serves as a strategy to execution tool to make sure that all of those things come together and really get implemented, and you have the benefits that you expect from that. I'm also not going to talk in more detail about this picture because, as said, as part of the ALM Summit, we are going to talk a lot about this throughout the next couple of days, and you will hear about all those glimpses and elements and details. And yeah, I would like to now hand it back to Ben, I think, to guide us through the rest of the morning here and to hand over. Thanks.